Christopher Dorsey, better known by his stage name BG, short for Baby Gangsta or BGzel, is an American rapper. He was born on September 3, 1980 at Charity Hospital in New Orleans, Louisiana. He grew up in a neighborhood located in the 13th ward of Uptown New Orleans. His family house was on the corner of Valence and Magnolia Street. Baby Gangsta acquired his moniker because of his reputation in the streets at a very young age. Similar to a lot of his contemporaries, he initially started rapping purely for the fun of it. When he was 12, an event happened that would change the course of his life. Following a weekend spent at his father's house, Christopher Dorsey was collected by his mother and taken to her home. Shortly after their arrival at his mother's place, the police knocked at their door to deliver devastating news that Dorsey's father had been fatally killed in an attempted robbery. The event had occurred shortly after Dorsey and his mother had departed his place. This event affected Baby Gangsta in a negative way and led to hang in the streets more. Dorsey lost interest in school and turned to selling weed and dope. He also had a reputation of stealing cars at this age. His love and appreciation for rap music, coupled by his rap skills, resulted in his barber recommending him to two of his other clients, Brian Baby Williams and Ronald Slim Williams, the heads of the then-fledgling CashMoney Records, who were actively looking for new talent. After an impromptu audition, Dorsey was signed to the budding label. Baby and Slim liked what they heard and added him to their roster. An agreement was reached to help look after him after his family moved to New Orleans East. For a short while, BG went to Abramson High School but soon dropped out. In no time, BG went from being an unknown local rapper with a reputation for rowdiness to being one of the region's most prolific rhymers. By the age of 14, Christopher began using dope but still focused on making music. At CashMoney, BG, originally known as Lil Doogie and sometimes Gangsta D, was paired with another young rapper and new signee, a 12-year-old from Hollygrove who'd rapped in the streets as Shrimp Daddy. Shrimp Daddy was renamed Baby D, who would be later known to the world as hip-hop legend Lil Wayne. Under label head Brian Baby Williams' guide, the duo would collectively be named the Bee Gees, short for the Baby Gangstas. CashMoney Records, which was launched in 1991, already housed a stable of competent rappers and were trying to expand their music in response to the gradual shift of bounce music popularity in New Orleans. As bounce music maintained its dominance over the airwaves and sustained high demand, the genre also entered a phase of oversaturation and weariness. CashMoney, in a bold but visionary move, made a decision to promote Wayne and Lil Doogie as the faces of the company's future. During the early recordings, Wayne's portrayal of street life through his adolescent voice was hardly identifiable, whereas BG emitted the aura of a seasoned street veteran in both sound and appearance. Even at the age of 14, BG had perfected the craft of storytelling, vividly portraying life in the challenging neighborhoods of New Orleans, specifically the 13th ward around Valence and Magnolia. In early 1995, BG and Baby D commenced work on their inaugural EP, True Story, with the aim of releasing it in July. Spearheaded by in-house producer Mannie Fresh and featuring collaborations with fellow label artists Mr. Ivan, Ms. T, and Tech 9, True Story saw its release in the summer of 1995. Despite his young age, Lil Doogie fearlessly positioned himself at the forefront of CashMoney's ongoing conflict with crosstown rival Big Boy Records and the artist Mystikal. Prior to Mystikal's rise to stardom with No Limit, he had achieved local success in New Orleans. Mystikal, a Gulf War veteran, was also involved in a war of lyrical exchanges with CashMoney's prominent group, UNLV. Although he was just 14 years old, BG already sounded much as an accomplished rapper with a unique sense of flow. Shortly after recording True Story album, Lil Doogie was picked up by the police and charged as a juvenile for possession of a firearm, crack and marijuana. Having been found guilty on all three charges, he was fortunately sentenced to probation, which he later violated, and was put behind bars for 2 months. After he was released, he was pulled over by law enforcement authorities and charged with possession of 30 Valiums and 2 ounces of weed. The judge slapped him with a 3-year sentence, which was reduced to 8 months. While these events unfolded to Lil Doogie, Baby D, a.k.a. Lil Wayne, was not very active at CashMoney. His father pulled him back home, but he was always in touch with Baby. He also suffered a gunshot-inflicted injury after having accidentally shot himself in the chest with his stepfather's 44mm gun in a suicide attempt. However, he later became more active in CashMoney after his stepfather's death in 1996. In 1996, CashMoney identified the potential in Lil Doogie and made the choice to elevate him to a solo artist status. This led to the adoption of the moniker BG for him, while Baby D transitioned into Lil Wayne. The year 1996 saw the release of BG's debut album Chopper City, an album regarded as one of the hardest gangster rap albums of all time. Although Chopper City was credited to the Bee Gees, it was in reality even more of a Baby Gangsta solo project. One of the recurring themes of the album was BG's use of heroin, better known as dope. The album's lyrics reflected the ups and downs of the street life, from doing dirt, going through hard times to death. The album was a success not only due to BG's authentic lyrics and rapping, but also due to Mannie Fresh, who at the time was helping CashMoney to break out of its earlier bounce mold. Even with virtually no distribution, the Chopper City album sold over 100,000 copies in New Orleans City. As of 1997, most of the entire original CashMoney lineup had left the record label, leaving only BG, Lil Wayne, and the Big Timers. The label's cash cows, BG and Mannie Fresh, were both given busy work schedules. On July 1st, BG unveiled his second album, It's All On You Volume 1, which achieved independent success. This, coupled with the release of newly signed artist, Juvenile Soldier Rags, played a pivotal role in securing CashMoney the groundbreaking contract with Universal Records, ultimately paving the way for their commercial triumph. On November 11, 1997, BG dropped another classic album, It's All On You Volume 2, which debuted at number 184 on the Billboard 200 chart, number 14 on the Billboard Heatseekers Albums chart, and number 20 on the Top R&B Albums chart. Instead of the album being a pivotal step forward for the 17-year-old, his addiction to heroin had gotten worse, and the chorus of the song I Be Thinking reflected it. Both albums were re-released in 1999 when CashMoney signed a pressing and distribution deal with Universal Records in 1998. In the summer of 1997, the Hot Boys group was formed, mainly to capitalize on the fame of BG and newly signed Juvenile, whilst introducing a just-returned Lil Wayne and another new signee, Young Turk. The original incarnation of the Hot Boys was comprised of BG, Juvenile, Lil Wayne, and rapper Bulletproof, a nephew of Baby and Slim. However, due to Bulletproof's reputation as a troublemaker and a hothead, the decision was made to insert Turk, who originally signed with CashMoney to do bounce music, into the group as the last and final member of the quartet. Lil Derrick, who was also known as Bulletproof, unfortunately lost his life in 2002. In 1998, after CashMoney signed a major deal with Universal, BG released Chopper City in the Ghetto, his highest-selling release, going platinum and catapulting his career. The album's single Bling Bling became a hit, while the term became a universal slang for jewelry. Having achieved newfound success, BG now had the means to acquire the items he had previously only mentioned and rapped in his lyrics. In the classic style of newfound wealth, he started showcasing several Rolex watches, necklaces, and proudly displaying his dental grill, in direct defiance of the objections from his detractors. While CashMoney was at the top of the rap game, illicit drugs had its artists at their lowest. BG and Turk consistently missed shows and appearances, getting so high that they often couldn't even make it to video shoots. Baby and Slims constantly attempted to wean the youngsters off drugs. They used to be mad at the young artists when they would come to the studio loaded. In 2000, BG released an album titled Checkmate, which would prove to be his final album with CashMoney. Despite the fact that he was still a minor, at this point, BG had 6 records under his belt. Despite going gold on album Checkmate, he felt that he was being cheated out of his share of the royalties on some of the CashMoney Records label's biggest successes. As a result, BG left CashMoney in 2001. In 2001, BG attempted to get help for his drug addiction by checking into a treatment program in Minnesota, but his efforts were to no avail. In 2002, he started a new label, Chopper City Records, and signed a deal with Coke Records. Following the establishment of Chopper City Records in 2002, BG openly addressed his conflict with Baby and Lil Wayne in his 2003 album Livin' Legend. He persisted with his critique in the subsequent release, 2004's Life After Cash Money, which unfortunately did not manage to reclaim the success of his prior works. Although many people attributed BG's departure and bitterness to heroin misuse, Wayne remained steadfast in preserving their shared history. In his 2004 album The Carter, Wayne tackled the dispute with BG through the track I Miss My Dogs. Undergoing a temporary period of being sober and clean, BG launched The Heart of the Streets Volume 1 in 2005, which garnered recognition in underground circles and managed to secure a spot within the Billboard Top 10. However, sales did not reach substantial levels. Following this, BG proceeded to release the sequel, The Heart of the Streets, Volume 2, I Am What I Am, in 2006, yielding comparable outcomes. BG disappeared from the national scene until his 2009 release Too Hood to Be Hollywood, a reunion with Juvenile and Lil Wayne and producer Mannie Fresh. On November 3, 2009, BG was arrested for being a felon in possession of a firearm during a traffic stop in eastern New Orleans. According to the police, he was pulled over for a routine traffic stop and arrested, along with 2 others, after police found 3 handguns, several loaded magazines, extended clips, and drugs in the rapper's Chevy Tahoe. 2 of the 3 firearms were stolen. Charges were filed against BG and Jared Fedison, aged 28, for unlawful possession of a firearm. In addition, the minor, Demount Pollard, aged 17, faced supplementary charges related to drug possession. On February 11, 2010, BG made an appearance in court and entered a plea of not guilty. As per the indictment, BG was found in possession of a firearm during 2 instances, first between August 2009, count 1, and then again on November 3, 2009, count 2. Additionally, the indictment outlines that BG and 2 passengers within the vehicle collaborated to impede justice, as one of them signed an affidavit that prosecutors later identified as a false statement, wherein he claimed sole responsibility for the firearms. Prior to BG's trial, one passenger pleaded guilty for his role in the offenses and was sentenced to serve 20 years in prison, while the other pled guilty to misprision of a felony and received 30 months in prison. On December 7, 2011, BG entered a guilty plea for 2 charges of firearm possession and 1 charge of conspiracy to obstruct justice. On July 18, 2012, he was sentenced to 14 years in a federal prison and 3 years federal supervision upon his release. There is a loyal fan base of BG fans that keep his name going on social media sites like Twitter with the hashtag #FreeBGFridays.